Good evening, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is a stock market analysis today. Today is Tuesday, May 13th, 2014. So the Dow is up almost 20 points today, 19.9 points. A little bit of a very tight compressed day. So the high and the low today was total of about 40 points. So we've had the expansion yesterday, move up. Now we're getting compression again. So the real question here is, as I look at this, this looks like a wedge to me, like a diagonal, okay? If you go purely across the intraday highs, okay? And so this looks like it's breaking out, but it's also possible that what it's doing is a what we call a throw over. Sometimes in these wedges, you'll get a little throw over to the upside, and then it'll reverse and come right back down and break down. Now, that's a possibility, but it's also possible that we're getting a breakout here. Now, when I look at the volume, I don't know why it's doing that. It's because of the high volume days. The volume in here isn't looking like we're getting huge volume on this move of yesterday and today. A couple other things I wanted to look at on the Dow, and then we'll move on to the others. The RSI, which is, I'm using a 10-day RSI, just so you know, okay? Use a 10-bar RSI is what I use. I like that because it shows a little bit better clarity in the overbought and oversold areas versus the 14-day, which is the default for the RSI. So right now, I'm watching these trend lines in here. Now, you could draw a trend line across the top here, but because I've got this diagonal rising wedge, I'm kind of leaning to the downside, okay? So we're going to have to watch and see what happens. Now, the other thing I want to mention is this ADX, okay? I think we're setting up for a big move, one way or the other on this. Pardon my voice here. But this ADX reading here is a reading of 8.0, okay? We haven't had a reading of 8 on the Dow, as far as I could tell. I went back and looked at my data just now. We haven't had a reading of 8 in over 10 years, okay? Now, we get down to 9, and we'll get down to 10. I mean, here was 10. And so, what does this mean? I mean, what it means is that a lot of times when you get a low reading, and low can be 10, 11, 9 down in here, you get a decent move coming up. And the last couple times we had this, when I look back down my data here, November 2011, January 2010, and then September 12th of 2008 when the market was collapsing. And that was right before when Lehman Brothers collapsed and everything. And of course, we were in a pretty good downtrend at that time anyway. So the real question is going to be, are we getting a breakout and we're going to, get some pretty powerful upside move here? Or is this thing about to roll over and come on back down? So all we can do is watch and see what this tells and what we get here. Right now, you got to say all the moving averages are aligned. I mean, we're closing above the 10, the 10's above the 21, above the 55, above the 233. So you can't say that this looks bearish from that kind of activity. I mean, it's acting bullish in terms of the move that it's trying to make. Now, when I look at some indicators, I get a little bit of contrary opinion. So we'll come back to that in a minute. Let's look at the S&P 500. Similar thing, very tight doji even type bar in here, very compressed. A little more of the pullback to the trend line. This trend line in here that on the Dow got a little buried into the action. Okay, it kind of pulled back onto it. I had it in here, and it kind of pulled back and beyond it, actually. But here, it looks like yesterday's action went right to the trend line. Here we are still hugging this trend line, okay? So we'll have to see how that plays out. Let me see if I'm seeing anything on, I mean, same type of thing. I can be drawing a trend line in here on the RSI. We haven't had an extreme reading on the RSI. I mean, this one right here is 27. That's not an extreme. Yeah, it's slightly oversold, but not an extreme reading that would indicate, okay, you're either on the bearish side or on the bullish side. You know, you kind of got it a little bit here, but anyway, let's move on here quickly. The Nasdaq still down below the channel in here, and we're getting this, you know, this move. Nasdaq was what, down 13.6 points today. This trend line we thought was breaking, you know, thought we were still hanging, and then we pulled back up on there. So I'm going to get rid of this trend line for now. You know, it looks like just some congestion in here. Now we could get, you know, it could be that this thing is breaking out, that this move yesterday. Let me take a look at this. Now that I look at this a little bit closer, I mean, you start to look at you start to try to put some kind of parameter around the congestion, okay? So it's possible that this thing is, you know, had some type of little triangle congestion in here, almost a, well, it's not a flag because, or a penny, because it's not that type of thing, but it's possible that it is doing this little breakout in here and trying to break higher. We'll just see if we gain follow through. We didn't get follow through today. Okay, New York Composite. Again, we're still in this big broadening move on the New York Composite and a very compressed day here. This trend line's kind of lost its importance. I'm going to get rid of it since it's buried into this congestion. Not a whole lot except for the fact that, again, the moving averages are all aligned to the up and to the right. Up and to the right is moving up. Okay, and Russell 2000, again, just the opposite. I mean, our moving averages are still aligned to the down and to the right. So we haven't moved to any kind of new highs on the Russell 2000, so we're not getting any bullish activity here. Now we have pulled back above this trend line that we broke in here, so we'll have to see which way this wants to go. Okay, so I think that's it on the indices. Let's take a look at some of our indicators. Don't think, okay, short term, this is, again, it's moving down slightly for the first time in a while. The 10-day is at 105 on here. So, but again, not at an extreme, not below the red line on 0.9 in terms of the short-term trading index. Now the VIX, this is interesting. The VIX closed at 12.13, okay? So this is on the New York Stock Exchange, I believe. This is not the Nasdaq VIX. But we have not, when I looked at the data on this, it kind of caught my eye. So that's why I drew this line in here. I said, okay, well, let me just put this line in, and I'll go back quickly over time, and let's just see how many times have we been below, had closes below 12.13. There have only been 7 days since April 2007 that we've closed below 12.13 on the VIX. So we're down in that rarefied air, you know, here where pretty low closings, kind of like back here in January before we had this big sell-off. So that's why I'm a little bit cautious about when I see the move to the upside out of the wedge or triangle, whatever you want, diagonal that you want to call it on the Dow. And then I see these really low readings on the VIX, which could tell us that, you know, we're at a point where this thing is going to want to turn. The last time the VIX, we had 4, and what's interesting, all 7 of these days were in 2013. So the last time was 2 days in August, on August 2nd and 5th at the peak there before the Dow turned down in August. 1 day in April, and 4 days in March, okay? And other than that, I didn't see any other, yeah, there's some close, you know, maybe 12.15, 12.14, but I actually took a reading and said, well, you know, anything closed below 12.13. So that's it on the VIX. And so we're getting a little bit of mixed signals. The high-low indicator, let me go to that real quick. This looks like it's broken out. So here's another little bit of a mixed signal. Looked like it made this move yesterday. You know, so kind of in the theme of a little bit of a breakout, we got a little bit of that on this high-low because we'd been in this channel in here. And, you know, we had this little congestion in here that I had drawn some lines around. We made the move down and we bounced right back up out of it. So we'll have to see whether or not we continue to get move and go beyond this point in terms of the high-low index. All right, so that's what we're looking at. Those are the things. Now I want to jump in and I'm going to take a look at the 3D stocks tonight. I'm going to start off with 3D systems and then work our way through it. And then I'm going to talk about trip advisors tonight too. So 3D systems. Okay, this one, I had played this one and made a little bit of money, got out on the second half as it pulled back up in here, but I still think this is somewhat negative. So what I'm looking for a play to the downside, and the action's going to be down in here somewhere. And I'll put the details of what I'm looking for on the Trade Ideas webpage. So, you know, take a look there. So if you haven't subscribed, just subscribe so you can follow Beyond the Chart, get email updates, get access to the Trade Ideas webpage, you know, download the free 5 Essentials PDF and, you know, join the tribe. So that's my plug. That's my not very highly paid plug. So anyway, that's it for tonight. 3D systems. So that's what I'm looking for. This to come down and break the trend line, move down. I'm still thinking that this thing's going to come down and test 40, but we'll see whether or not it's got enough in it to do that. The next one is SSYS, you know, this is really interesting. I drew this symmetrical triangle up here, and I had played this. We made money on either at least one, if not two trades. I can't remember which, back here in April. And the target on this breakout, and you know, it's a nice, powerful breakout because it broke out about 2/3 of the way through the symmetrical triangle, which, you know, that's a nice, powerful place to be breaking out. 2/3 to 3/4 of the way to the apex of the symmetrical triangle. And so this was a projection line of the move. Well, look at that. On the 9th, on last Friday, it went right down and intraday hit the projection line. Okay. Now, it would have been tough to stay in this because there was such big moves, jagged moves up and down. But sure enough, I mean, it went down. Now, I don't have a specific play on this right now. It's just kind of an update as to where it's looking. This was a potential support zone in here. It looked like it blew through that on Friday. It's pulled back up into that. And again, selling came down a little bit on that today. XONE. This is another one that's really interesting here. I mean, here's the initial trading on this IPO day here. Okay, so this line is the low of the IPO day. So we're down here. And the initial thinking was that we had a 5-wave, first wave up move, and that we were correcting, and that we'd have 3 big waves, A, B, C correction. We go below that, then that scenario's off. But if we hold above this low down here, then potentially this 5th wave could bottom down in here somewhere, but it looks negative. I mean, it's just, you know, in this dive mode right now, selling off. So that's the scenario on XONE. It'll be interesting to see if it comes down around 25-24 and turns, or whether it even comes down that far. But my guess is it's going to be a come back down and at least retest this low. So, all right, the next one is Voxeljet, which isn't one of my typical ones, but it is one that we one of the 3D stocks. I think these guys are out of Germany. And again, this is an IPO day was back here on October 18th last year. And it has been in a pretty strong downtrend. You can see this downtrending channel that I drew in here. You just take these highs and draw this line and then just make a parallel over here. And I kind of tied it to this point, and it came pretty close to being right on this point here. So you see we're in this downdraft. I'm not sure, you know, again, I would not, even though we're getting some divergence coming in, you know, some divergence showing up here. The DI minus did not go to lower low, and we're getting some divergence in here on the RSI. Because the RSI went so deep and because this was so negative, I hesitate to buy into that divergence, you know, to buy into it. So to me, you kind of want to wait till the moving averages start to turn up. You get the 10 above the 21, you got to start trading above it, break this trend line, let it tell you that it wants to show you, demonstrate that it for sure wants to move to the upside rather than just guess right now. Okay, that's it on Voxeljet. And then the last one I want to take a look at tonight is Trip Advisors. This one, again, you know, we've got the 21 below the 55. Yes, the 10's breaking above the 21 in here. It's tempting to try to go long, but right now I'm leaning towards this trend line in here. And I'm looking for, what I'm watching for is a similar type thing to the 3D. I'm looking to see if it breaks the low of these last 2 days and closes below the 10. So I'll be watching the close, watching to see if we get that type of action. And of course, ideally break this trend line. So we'll be watching, and then I'm going to put something out on the Trade Ideas webpage. So that's what I'm watching for on this stock for tomorrow and into Thursday. So, okay, that's it for tonight. Everyone have a great Wednesday. Thanks for stopping by, and tweet it, share the video, share the post, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. This has been Joe for Beyond the Chart. Thanks for stopping by again.